Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do that. You'll be notified every time we put up a new video. If you ring the little bell underneath, that's what it'll do. Every time there's something published, you will be notified immediately. We don't have a brilliant schedule. You could get 3 this week, you could get 2 next week, you might get 1 the week after, but we'll try and keep it interesting, and if there's nothing worth really putting up, I suppose we'll try and avoid that. Anyway, moving on from that, as you can see here, we're at the Fordson Major today. Quick recap on this tractor is we bought this basically for a bit of fun, something to have a bit of enjoyment out of our spare time, I suppose, really. No, not that we get a lot of spare time, but we're just machinery men, we're not into cars, we're not into all that kind of stuff, so this is kind of our hobby, if you will. It'll be more my hobby than my father's hobby because he's more of a Massey man. I wouldn't be a massive Massey fan. I always liked Fordson Majors, and this one is slightly different, and this one is getting a 6-cylinder engine. Reason behind that is it's just slightly different, even though saying it's slightly different, this was a massive common thing back in the 60s, 70s, I suppose, into the early 80s. You weren't a contractor unless you had a tractor with a bigger engine fitted. Reason they were doing that is, I suppose, there was single chops and double chop harvesters. There was a massive need for more power. What was around wasn't putting out enough, and big horsepower tractors in them days were astronomical money. So to change engines was a relatively easy process. Compared to modern day stuff, I'm sure an engine transplant is a massive ordeal, but back in these days, the likes of these engines, this Ford D-Series engine, they were so readily available. They were in absolutely everything. They were in trucks, they were in trucks and diggers and stuff like that. So getting one of them was a cheap option, and the conversion wasn't a massive ordeal. Lads think they're cool now, going around with tractors and balers and stuff like that. These boys were really cool. The fellas that were going around with modified tractors, cutting silage and all those kind of things. So us modern day boys have nothing on these fellas, because the work and the craftsmanship that went into nearly every aspect of the outfit was crazy. I mean, you were talking tractors, cutting the silage, they were modified, harvesters were modified at times, trailers probably all made, homemade, and silage bikes were probably all homemade. So most of the machinery in the fleet was in some way modified or homemade. Now, if you were to look at a lot of that stuff now, it'd be crude and it probably wouldn't pass as, I suppose, fashionable compared to your trailers of modern days, but they knew better and there was nothing out there. So for the time, they were fairly hard men. They were at all this kind of work. Anyway, moving on from that, basically what we're tackling today is our sumps. We have 2 sumps here, and I'm going to fill you in about that now. They're just over there behind you. So I think I basically have all of this covered at this stage. You know most of about it. If you go back through the videos, you'll see the bits and pieces. But the sumps are here now, and I'm going to show you those. Okay, so basically what's happening is the tractor's bell housing matches the engine, but it doesn't match the sump. And what we've done here is we've welded on bits of aluminium to take the tractor's bell housing, and they're done on this sump, but there's a problem with this sump is it's cracked. The pan of it is cracked, and as much as I've tried welding it, I just cannot get it to stop cracking. So it's not water, or sorry, it's not sealing, it's not holding oil, so we have to give up on this sump, unfortunately. If we had someone with a TIG welder, maybe might be able to do it, but I picked up another sump, relatively handy, and this sump actually suits better because, as you can see where this deep into it, I suppose you'd call it, will save me a bit of modifying with the steering bar on the front axle. So all in all, what we're going to end up doing with this sump is welding the ears onto it. So I'll show you a bit of that, and hopefully we'll get that done today. If we get that done today, we'll move on to something else on the tractor, and I'll show you a bit of that too. So that's what we're concentrating at the moment, and you'll be able to see that going on here now shortly. Okay, so basically you can see here we've our aluminium lugs welded on. There's one here, and this is the big one, and we have one still to put at the far side. This is the first job I've done aluminium welding at, and it is painful to say the least. It's extremely hard. I suppose a TIG welder is probably a better bit for this, but I'm doing it with the MIG anyway. That's a good 12 mil tick there, and you would just burn through it instantly. It's also cast aluminium, which is crap. In other words, it's very hard to work with. It'll crack if you put in too much heat, and it's just not that nice of a thing to work with. Give me steel any day of the week. I'd prefer it to this. So that's kind of basically it for today. It's kind of taken a long time to get this, to cut out this piece, and which incidentally, aluminium is extremely hard to cut for some unknown reason, but it's extremely hard to cut. Very hard in the angle grinder. But anyway, that's kind of us for today. I won't be at this tomorrow. Better get back and do a bit of hedge cutting again as it's mounting up. But hopefully closer to the weekend we'll give you another update. So I suppose not a big update, but an update nonetheless. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you later on.